Hello everyone, and now welcome to game 3, or sorry, not game 3, game 6 in the series. Excuse me. Game 6 in the series between Yu-Gi-Oh! And Ryung. This is, of course, between Team Root and Axiom. Yu-Gi-Oh! Spawning as the red Zerg over here on the bottom right-hand side of the map. Meanwhile, Ryung has spawned as the blue Terran player on the bottom left-hand side of the map. And this is really coming down to the end, folks. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has fought back and forth and now has almost evened up the series. We are now at 3-2 in favor of Axiom, as Root has taken 2 easy victories after Alicia took the first 3 wins. Now, we are on Newkirk Precinct, and this is, of course, game 6, as I mentioned. Will Yu-Gi-Oh! Be able to force a Game 7 between the ace players, or will Ryung be able to take the victory here? So far, we can see that the game is opening up pretty normal-like, as Ryung most likely going to be opening up with a command center first over here. So it is going to be a command center first, followed by a barracks most likely. As you can take a look, there is just SCVs queued up, no sign of a barracks just quite yet. Yu-Gi-Oh! On the other hand, is making his way down here with the drone. We'll take a quick look around and grow up to be a hatchery. Already, you can spot that the drone from Yu-Gi-Oh! Has come in, and this drone from Yu-Gi-Oh! Is more of a measure to make sure that his opponent isn't going for, say, any sort of proxy 2-racks. The drone here, though, is going to come back around and spot this command center being placed down. I believe he spotted it. No, he did not spot it. He needs to come back, take a look. He now knows that it is going to be a command center first. If he didn't spot that command center, then he may have thought a proxy 2-racks was coming in sometime soon, and he would have needed to place down a spawning pool rather quickly. Barracks finally coming in from Ryung. Meanwhile, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is going for a third hatchery. Wow, Yu-Gi-Oh! Being extremely greedy here. This is a third hatchery before a spawning pool has even been placed down, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Really hoping that he can get up onto 3 bases rather quickly. Now, you would normally think that off of these 3 hatchery, his production should be through the roof, but that is actually not the case. The reason behind this, or the reason why, is that it is going to delay the queen significantly. We are still a good 100 seconds away, a minute and a half away from a single queen being anywhere on the field. And that means that we are about almost even 2 minutes away from a larva injection finally coming off. A little bit closer now since I started my train of thought. But the hatcheries here will be able to produce some larvae, albeit not as quickly as with the help of a queen. And also, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is going to be forced to train up a lot of queens. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually saw 6 queen play coming in from Yu-Gi-Oh! Meanwhile, Ryung is opening up. He is getting up 1 refinery. You can see that the factory is down. We should be seeing a reactor placed down here in just a moment, as a bunker now coming in from Ryung most likely. No bunker as of yet. Still a bit surprised there. Are we going to see a supply depot? No, another command center from Ryung. Alright, so apparently today is the day that command centers are made. Hope you rejoice and just enjoy this very long macro game that is coming here. Alright, hatcheries are training up 1 queen. No queen back over here, laying down a creep tumor. Queen over here, not placing down a creep tumor as of yet, as the Overlord has yet to spot whether or not this particular refinery has been started. All right, refinery, extractors. All right, so extractors, refineries are now down on the field. What is going to be happening here? Yu-Gi-Oh! Placing down additional queens still, and it looks like it is going to be 4 queen play at the very least, as creep tumors are now making their way down. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Still going very heavy on the drones. Finally getting a Roach Warren, perhaps more of defense than anything else. He wants to be able to stop these Hellions that are going to come by. And I believe Ryung will be caught off guard, knowing that his opponent has already established up this hatchery this quickly. Alright, 3rd command center is already upgrading to an orbital command. Hellions now driving down the ramp here. they're going to be taking a look around. Ryung looking actually to the 9 or the 3 o'clock location for an expansion. He isn't going to find it. Instead, Yu-Gi-Oh took the strange route of actually expanding towards his opponent, and this is catching Ryung off guard as the Hellions are going to try to perhaps make their way up onto the high ground. There's 3 drones. Are they going to get caught? Oh, a creep tumor or evolution chamber placed down just in time here. Is this queen going to be able to do any damage here as the drones are now trying to back away? What damage, if any, will be dealt as the drones are running? A couple of drones quickly torched there. A couple of drones actually dodging that damage somehow as the Hellions are still trying to get away. Are they going to be able to get any kills off onto these units? No, they are not, as there's just simply too many queens and zerglings on the map. Yu-Gi-Oh with a large supply advantage. Also 55 drones compared to 43. And this is off of 3 bases compared to 2 bases for Ryung. So Ryung actually getting a little bit of diminishing returns here and not really mining efficiently here either. So Ryung can still try and saturate this base before lifting off and establishing this base here. Meanwhile, Yu-Gi-Oh looking very strong and going into a Hydralisk Den. Alright, I got to admit the Hydralisk Den is catching me a bit off guard. But then again, Hydralisk Den does make a little bit of sense, as Hydralisks normally fall apart to siege tanks. And as the metagame has rolled on, a lot of Terran players have really been going more for Widow Mines than siege tanks. Albeit Widow Mines do deal a lot of damage to Hydralisk as well. It's just that a lot of Zerg players have learned how to deal with Widow Mines by sending in Overlords and Zerglings first. However, an armory down does most likely mean we are going to be going into Hellbats, and we are also double training Medivacs. So Hellbats and double training Medivacs in the near future, perhaps just trying to get to 2/2 upgrades as well. We'll have to keep a close eye on that, as roaches are now simply shuffling around the map. Muscular augmentation, glial reconstitution, level 1 weapon and armor upgrade for the Zerg. And Yu-Gi-Oh is pretty much staying on top of his production throughout the game. Yu-Gi-Oh does have overseers in good positions as well, should be able to have a good idea if a drop does try to come into play. Let's take a look at it. So far, it doesn't look like Hellbats are being trained as of yet. Or, no, wait for the reactor. Are we going to get Hellbats, or are we going to still go into Hellions? Only time can tell, as there are still Hellions on the field. Alright, Marines and Hellions engaging there, dealing a bit of damage, taking down a unit. And here comes the control. Ryung now moving out, feeling very confident with his units, as we do see a lot of supply depots here by Ryung. I like this use of building placement from Ryung here to try and protect his natural expansion, or this third base. But what I am still a bit curious about, though, is whether or not he's going to be harvesting gas here at all. With all of these supply depots down here, those units will actually kind of get stuck here and group up. Yes, the Widow Mines will do a bit of damage to the supply depots here as the Marines are trying to engage. There you go. There's the engagement. The roaches quickly come in, fall apart, as the Overseer is keeping track of all these units. Alright, Roaches and Hydras continuing this push in. Once more, SCVs pulling off from the mineral line, as Yu-Gi-Oh is just absolutely dominating with Roach Hydra. Roach Hydra, perhaps the timing completely caught Ryung off guard. As you can see, the Widow Mines have finally burrowed themselves. There is one changeling in position there. And what is going to be happening as the Roaches just do a little bit of darting back and forth? Pretty much Ryung is not mining from this base, trying to transfer some drones over. More Hydralisks now making their way over. As you can see, the Hydralisk is spinning rather far, dealing a bit of damage, attacking at 0.83, slightly faster than a Marine. As we now see the engagement happening once more. Alright, Roaches doing that spin attack, now backing off again. Roaches, Hydralisk, Overseer still keeping track and making sure that they do not accidentally walk onto a Widow minefield. Is it a Widow minefield, or is it a Widow minefield? I think it's a Widow minefield, right? So It just sounds weird because it's not like a minefield. Anyways, let's come in here. Marines and Widow Mines now going to be rooting or burrowing themselves again. The Roaches just simply walking straight forward, hoping to get a lot of splash damage onto the rest of the Marines and the Marauders. All right, it looks like some of those Roaches are going to take a bit of damage here, backing off again. Hydralisk and Roaches continuing this push. Yu-Gi-Oh actually pushing much harder than I expected him to. And Ryung should be able to clean this up as Yu-Gi-Oh leaves behind a couple of Hydralisks. Simply too many medevacs. 10 medevacs alongside 8 what is that? 8 Marauders and Marines. Each, well, isn't that a good ratio for these Marauders and Marines? Each Marauder and Marine gets their own medevac and medevac pilot. Oh, no wink from the medevac pilot there? All right. Couldn't time that all too well. Anyways, let's see what's going to be happening here next. Medevacs, Widow Mines making their way forward. Creep Tumors will get cleaned up. We are about even so far, but we are now going into Infestors, and Infestors could spell some trouble. Those Marauders and those Marines will need to use Stim, and in order to get away, here we go. Infestors are now making their way forward. There is that fungal growth hitting on many of the medevacs. All right, Roaches, Hydralisks now pushing their way forward. Queen getting caught out of position. Didn't get the memo as the rest of the units backed off again. All right, new Widow Mine. Infestors now coming in. Are we going to perhaps see a fungal growth? Yes, we do. The animation making that that fungal growth a little bit easier to dodge. There's another splash attack there as Ryung actually coming out on top here and really dealing a lot of damage. Ryung now backing off. Yu-Gi-Oh continuing to chase with the rest of these units as the medevacs are now pushing forward. All right, Hydralisk, Yu-Gi-Oh is in a bit of trouble. There is a lot of medevacs here. The Marines look to take down this hatchery. This hatchery, if it goes, is going to give a lot of economy bonuses to Ryung, as Yu-Gi-Oh cannot afford to lose this so far. All right, the Infestors do not have enough energy for an actual fungal growth, and the hatchery will fall. It will be 3 bases to 3 as a new hatchery now finished off at the what I'll call the 1 o'clock position. Widow Mines, Marines, Marauders now pushing forward again. What is happening with all of these Widow Mines here as the Infestors may try to land a fungal growth? There it is. All of them unable to burrow, and that was a bit of a lucky break there as Yu-Gi-Oh pushing way too forward with 1 Infestor. All right, catching a lot of units off guard as another Widow Mine gets taken down there. So Yu-Gi-Oh with a nice round of reinforcements, perhaps hitting a good inject, still has 26 larvae on the field, and should, in fact, be able to get back into this game. But no, Ryung once again pushing forward. Army composition, army supply, 87 to 97. Worker supply, 78 to 66, as the Marauders and the Marines are not pushing this 1 o'clock expansion location. This is key. Whether or not this expansion gets taken down, Ryung, thinking that he has a really strong economic lead, little does he know that he is still behind in minerals and in gas. And this is largely due to the fact that Ryung has been forced to use scanner sweeps in order to use scanner sweeps in order to clear up all of these creep tumors. Drop now happening on the backside here. Roaches now have arrived. What is going to be happening next as Ryung leaves behind one poor Marine? A drop, most likely Eminent coming in here. No, gonna come back in and drop again at the 1 o'clock location as a large force now coming up the center. Here you go. This is a lot of ground to try and reestablish. Hatcheries now coming in as well. Infestors now hiding up on the high ground as the Zerglings look to come around and perhaps take down a planetary fortress before it gets up. Zerglings are only upgraded 02. That is not going to be enough. Going after SCVs instead. The SCVs are upgraded 03, meaning that these Zerglings are dealing hardly any damage. 2 damage per attack, 1 damage to a Marauder. And that is just poor play. Zergling's going to get caught out of position. Are these Zerglings going to catch? Yes, they are going to catch some units in transit, but nothing. A couple of medevac pilots can't heal for all of those Marines and Marauders. A new drop coming in over here. Spine Crawler slowly poking apart some of these units as we see an engagement here. And oh, this is a squeeze play. The Marines and the Marauders are now forced to try to engage here. All right, chain fungal growth to try and deal with all of these Widow Mines. Widow Mines now getting taken down, but a lot of damage is dealt. The Marines and the Marauders pushing further and further into Yu-Gi-Oh's base, further and further on to creep as this hatchery falls. But a new hatchery down here has been reestablished. Both sides even on supply again. 135 versus 135, and Yu-Gi-Oh has a bit more room to build up an army, and he also has a slightly larger mineral bank, but the gas does tell a different story. All right, no transfusion off on that spine crawler there. There's some fungal growths, and wow. Oh my gosh, that is going to be a huge hit to Ryung's army there. Down to 170 now. As a couple of fungal growths catch the units off guard. Hydralisk now come back in with a counterattack. This is more of a small force here to try and deal damage. SCVs, Widow Mines are not even bothering to burrow themselves as another round of broodlings are hatched from a hatchery. This battle has gone back and forth so far. There goes another Overlord there. Marines and Marauders getting underneath all of these medevacs. Perhaps another drop ship play will be coming in. Medevac pilot, very, very happy. We do see some barracks already on the field as well. What is happening next as the medevacs are now getting into position, perhaps to defend what is likely to be a very strong attack. Now, Yu-Gi-Oh has not transitioned out of this attack for quite some time. You can see 3/3 upgrades on the Hydralisk and on the Roaches. What is actually curious to note about Zerg is that 3/3 upgrades, ranged upgrades, doesn't benefit any tier 3 unit. In terms of the Zerg, it used to benefit, you could argue whether or not Infestors were truly tier 3, but Ultralisk, Broodlords, none of them benefit from this 3/3 upgrade, so Yu-Gi-Oh has been stuck on this tier 3 tech with only Hydralisk and Roaches. Both sides are still fighting it out. They're a bit of a good ball here to attack and engage with. Meanwhile, the Marines are still trying to engage here. The units are just simply too far back, and Ryung is not engaging. He doesn't want to push on top of all of his Widow Mine splash damage. One Marauder, a little bit of a Death Wish, gets taken down there. All right, Marines going to get cleaned up here once again. Another hatchery has fallen. Roaches and Hydralisk cleaning up here. Yu-Gi-Oh sitting at 180. Ryung sitting at 190. And looking like both sides could absolutely destroy each other with one bad movement. Oh my gosh, Muscular Augments has not been researched for these Hydralisks. No wonder they are not that effective. Here you go, a beautiful fungal growth landing on top of all of these units here. Infestor is now out of energy. Yu-Gi-Oh in a bit of trouble. Yu-Gi-Oh now being forced to back off. Oh, this could be bad. There is a lot of Hydralisks, but they can pick off. Oh, there is one Widow Mine decides not to chase. And that was a bit of a lucky break. All right, medevacs. How many of them are on the field? 11 medevacs, 19 Marauders, 28 Marines. You can take a look at the army supply. How much larger? A Marauder drop looking to come in again. Yu-Gi-Oh is in trouble. 150 versus 177. And what is happening here with these Marauders and these Marines? Marauders and the Marines now pushing forward again. This hatchery is finally up and running. Income is significantly larger in terms of minerals for Ryung, but still higher for gas for Yu-Gi-Oh. One Widow Mine just outside of sight range as we see another hatchery gonna get destroyed before it gets up and running. There you have it. Medevacs now trying to retreat again. Are they going to be able to spot anything? The Medevacs now making their way over. Oh, afterburners have not been used. There it goes. Finally trying to get off into that corner. Meanwhile, here we go. Marines are now trying to engage. Fungal growth coming in. Beautiful fungal growth coming in as well as the Roaches and the Hydralisks are still trying to engage. Another fungal growth does land. Couple Widow Mines unable to fire off there. As you can see, another fungal growth does land as well. Ryung still with a superior supply count as the Infestors are backing off. Yu-Gi-Oh unable to get that magical number of Infestors to take the game, and Ryung is just absolutely dominating. This hatchery looks like it will fall for the 5th or 6th time. And with that, I believe Yu-Gi-Oh's chances of getting back into this game are starting to reach nil. Here we go. Roaches continuing to push forward, and the Infestors trying to make another move. Roaches now doing a little bit of a flank here. This is a fairly decent concave. If the drones actually started to engage, all of Ryung's units may actually fall here as the Roaches and the Marines, they're doing a battle out, and Yu-Gi-Oh does say GG. Ryung giving Axiom the final lead and victory 4-2 over Root. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it.